Real grandkids only, Dad said as he sent my adopted son to a tiny table. Everyone watched him eat alone and said nothing. When the $290 check came, I paid only for us. Then Dad realized I was cutting off more than dinner. Dad's 60th birthday dinner was supposed to be simple. The hostess led us toward a private room at the back of the restaurant where a table for 8 had been set with white tablecloths and folded napkins that looked more complicated than origami. Noah walked beside me, 7 years old, wearing a blue striped shirt tucked in on one side and coming loose on the other, because he had insisted on dressing himself that morning. Dad and Mom were already there, along with my sister, Jessica, her husband, Brandon, and their kids, Mia and Tyler. Everyone was dressed up. Candles were waiting on a cake. Near the kitchen doors, a smaller table sat off to the side with 2 place settings. It was close enough to see us, but far enough away to make a point. Noah headed for the main table where his cousins were sitting. He pulled out the chair beside Tyler, but Dad's hand shot out and caught the back of it. "Whoa there, sport," he said. Noah looked up at him. Dad smiled like he was being gentle. "This table is for adults and real grandkids. You understand, right?" Then he pointed toward the small table near the kitchen doors. "You'll be more comfortable over there." The room went quiet. Mom studied her menu. Jessica adjusted Mia's hair bow. Brandon checked his phone. Noah's face went very still. It was that thing he did when he tried to make himself smaller. 7 years old and already learning how to disappear. Mia started to say, "Grandpa, why can't," but Jessica cut her off with a soft, sharp, "Hush, sweetheart." Dad pulled out his own chair and sat down like nothing had happened. "Alex, you're here," he said, gesturing toward the empty seat beside him. I looked at Noah. Then I looked at the separate table by the kitchen doors. Then I looked back at my father, settling in as if he had just solved a seating problem. I walked to the small table, pulled out a chair, and sat down. Jessica frowned. "Alex, what are you doing?" I didn't answer her. I patted the seat across from me. Noah walked over, sat down, and smoothed his napkin on his lap the way I had taught him. Dad's voice turned hard around the edges. "Alex, don't be ridiculous. It's my birthday. Sit at the family table." I picked up the menu. I am sitting at the family table. This is where my son is sitting. Mom opened her mouth, but Dad cut her off before she could say anything. "No, I set this up so the kids could sit together and Alex could relax. But if he wants to be difficult, that's his choice. Difficult. Not cruel, not wrong. Difficult." The server appeared and took drink orders. Everyone else ordered wine and craft beer. I ordered water for both of us. At the main table, conversation slowly resumed. Dad told a golf story. Jessica laughed too loudly. Mia and Tyler colored on their placemats. Nobody looked at us. We were only 10 feet away, but we might as well have been in a different restaurant. When Noah's chicken fingers arrived, he cut them into small pieces, ate quietly, and didn't ask why Grandpa had made him sit alone. He already knew. I thought back to the adoption finalization 3 years earlier. Dad had congratulated me, but he had called Noah "your kid" instead of "our grandson." At Christmas, he gave Mia and Tyler elaborate presents, while Noah got a $20 gift card. At Mia's birthday party last month, Noah had been told to help Grandma in the kitchen during the family photo. Small cuts, small exclusions, small reminders. I had told myself it would get better. I had told myself pushing back would only make things worse. I had been wrong. Noah's voice was small when he said, "Dad?" I turned toward him. "Yeah, buddy." He stared down at his plate. "Why doesn't Grandpa like me?" I set down my fork and looked at my 7-year-old son, who had spent 2 years in foster care before I adopted him, who still had nightmares, who was only just starting to believe that this home was permanent. "Grandpa has some stuff to figure out," I said. "It's not about you." Noah swallowed. But he said, "I'm not a real grandkid." He's wrong. But I'm not related to him, not like Mia and Tyler. Family isn't just blood, Noah. It's who shows up. He looked at the main table where everyone was laughing at something Dad had said. "They're not sitting with us." I followed his gaze. "No, they're not." He went back to his chicken. He didn't cry, he just accepted it. That was the worst part. Dessert came out later. Chocolate cake with candles at the main table. Everyone sang. Dad blew out the candles. He cut the first slice. A smaller piece was brought to our table. No singing, no ceremony, just cake. Noah ate it without comment. Then the server brought the check in a leather folder and set it at the head of the main table. Dad opened it, looked at the total, then slid it across to me without a word, like he always did. Every family dinner for the past year, the check had ended up in front of me. Dad's birthday, Mom's birthday, random Tuesday nights. Every time, it was never a request, it was an assumption. I pulled the folder toward me and opened it. $290.47. I counted out $47. 2 entrees, 2 waters, 2 desserts, plus tip. I slid the cash into the folder, stood up, and said, "Noah, you ready?" He looked at his half-eaten cake, then nodded and slid out of his chair. Mom's voice wavered. "Alex?" I walked to the main table and set the folder in front of Dad. "There's cash for Noah and me. The rest is on you." Dad's smile froze. "What? You wanted separate tables, you got separate bills." I held out my hand to Noah. He took it. Jessica stared at me. "You're joking." "Not even a little bit." Dad opened the folder, saw the $47, then looked back at the total. "Alex, it's my birthday." "Happy birthday, Dad." "You can't just, we don't have." "Then I guess you'll figure it out." "Like you figured out the seating?" Mom grabbed her purse. "Robert, I have my credit card." "No," Dad snapped his voice, going hard. "He's not walking out on my birthday because I hurt his feelings." I stopped and looked at him. "You didn't hurt my feelings. You told my son he's not real family. That isn't hurt feelings. That's showing me exactly where we stand." Then I started walking. Noah stayed beside me, his small hand in mine. Dad's voice rose behind us. "Alex, get back here! You're embarrassing me!" I kept walking through the private room, through the restaurant, past other tables where families were eating together. The hostess held the door for us and we walked out. Behind us I could hear Dad's voice, Mom trying to calm him down, and the server asking if everything was okay. I unlocked the car and helped Noah with his seatbelt. Then I got in and started the engine. Noah stared out the window. "Are they going to be mad?" "Probably." "Are you going to get in trouble?" I almost laughed, but I didn't. "I'm 32. I don't get in trouble anymore." "But Grandpa's really mad." "Grandpa can be mad. It doesn't change anything." I pulled out of the parking lot. Through the restaurant windows, I could see people moving around inside the private room, probably trying to figure out how to split a $240 bill. Noah was quiet for a while. Then he said, "Dad, yeah, thanks for sitting with me." Something in my chest shifted. Something made room for a decision I should have made years ago. "Always, buddy. Always." We drove home. Noah changed into pajamas, brushed his teeth, and climbed into bed. I sat on the edge of his mattress. "You okay?" "Yeah." "You sure?" His eyes were already heavy. "Grandpa's mean sometimes." "I'm used to it. 7 years old and used to it." I swallowed hard. "You shouldn't have to be used to it." He nodded, eyes closing, exhausted from spending the whole evening trying to be invisible. When he was asleep, I went to the living room and pulled out my phone. 17 missed calls from my parents' number. 3 texts from Jessica. "What on earth just happened? Dad is furious. Call Mom back right now." I set the phone face down, opened my laptop, and logged into my banking app. I found the auto payment from 6 months earlier. Country club dues, Dad's membership, $180 per month. He had asked once after he retired, saying fixed income made things tight. I had said yes, and somehow it had become automatic. I scrolled farther. Other payments appeared, things I had stopped thinking about. Jessica's kids' activities, dance for Mia, soccer for Tyler. $400 a month. Family helps family, she had said when she asked. Then there was the phone plan. 5 lines. I had been the primary account holder since college. $220 per month. $180, $400, $220, $800 a month, times 6 months. $4,800, not counting dinners, not counting every birthday, every let's get together, every check slid across the table. I had never counted before. I had never wanted to see the total. My phone lit up again. Dad calling. I let it ring. I stared at the country club payment screen. The next draft was scheduled for 3 days from then. My cursor hovered over Cancel Autopay. Not tonight. Let him sweat the restaurant bill first. Let him figure out $243 between 4 adults. Let him wonder what else I might stop paying for. I closed the laptop and checked on Noah. He was still sleeping, his face peaceful. Tomorrow, I would deal with the rest. Tomorrow. I would set boundaries I should have set years ago. Tonight, I just sat in the quiet, with Noah safe down the hall. My son who had been told he was not real family. The only real family I had. My phone buzzed again. A text from Mom. Please call us. Your father is very upset. This isn't like you. She was right. This was not like me. The old me would have apologized. The old me would have paid. The old me would have smoothed everything over and made himself small so Dad could feel big. But the old me had not watched his son accept exclusion like it was normal. The new me was done. I powered off my phone. Tomorrow, they would call again. They would demand explanations. They would expect me to cave. Tomorrow, I would be ready, and I would have some explanations of my own. Sunday morning at 9:47, someone started pounding on my apartment door. Not knocking, pounding. I was making pancakes, and Noah was sitting at the kitchen table with his activity book, still wearing dinosaur pajamas. The pounding continued. Noah looked up. Is that Grandpa? Probably. Are you going to answer it? I flipped a pancake. After we eat. The pounding came again. Then Dad's voice through the door. Alex, I know you're in there. I plated the pancakes and set one in front of Noah. We ate slowly while my father wore out his knuckles in the hallway. Only after I had rinsed the dishes did I walk to the door and open it. Dad stood there in a golf polo and khakis, his face red. Dad. He pushed past me. What the heck was last night? I walked to the kitchen and started making coffee. Dad followed me. You embarrassed me. Made me look like an idiot. I asked, could you afford it? He stopped. I opened my laptop on the counter and turned the screen toward him. Auto payments, 6 months of charges, country club, Jessica's activities, phone plan. He squinted at the numbers. His face went white, then red. $4,800, I said, not counting dinners. He gestured weakly at the screen. I didn't know about all of this. You used it every day. I assumed. He looked up. Jessica's dance classes. You asked me to help last spring. Nobody ever told me to stop. I glanced toward Noah. Without being asked, he grabbed his plate and disappeared into his room. Dad waited until he heard the click of the door. Then he said, You should have said something. I looked at him. You should have noticed. Then I walked to the front door and opened it. Dad grabbed his keys and stopped at the threshold. This isn't over. Yeah, I said. It is. I closed the door and locked it. Later, Noah and I went to Riverside Park. He ran to the jungle gym while I sat on a bench. My phone buzzed from an unknown number. A voicemail. Alex, it's Uncle Mike. Robert borrowed $3,000 from me in July. Said it was temporary. Haven't heard from him. Is everything okay? I played it again. $3,000. July. Right around the time Dad had asked me to cover the country club dues. Dad had not been tight because of retirement. He had been tight because he was already in debt. My phone rang. It was Mike. I answered. Hey, Mike. Alex, is your dad okay? Physically, yeah. Financially, that's complicated. I told him everything. The restaurant, the separate table, the payments I had been covering. Mike was quiet for a long time. Then he said, He's been telling me things are fine, that he has consulting work. Does he? I don't think so, Mike sighed. The $3,000 was for a car repair. Said insurance wouldn't cover it. Did he fix the car? I don't know. But if he's having you pay for the club while owing me money, that's bad judgment. I'm canceling the membership tomorrow. Good. He needs a reality check. And Alex, whatever happened at that restaurant, I'm on your side. Kids don't get ranked. Thanks, Mike. A few minutes later, Noah ran over breathless. Can we get ice cream? I looked at him and smiled. Sure, buddy. We stopped at the grocery store on the way home. Noah picked chocolate chip. At checkout, I heard my name. Alex. I turned. Jessica stood there in designer sunglasses and yoga pants, her cart full of organic everything. Jessica. She looked at Noah and forced a smile. Hi, Noah. He waved but stayed close to me. Jessica turned back to me. The dance academy payment declined. Mia's costume isn't paid for. That's unfortunate. Her voice rose. Unfortunate. She's been practicing for 3 months. Other shoppers glanced over. I kept my voice level. Then you should pay for it. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you check? Noah tugged my sleeve. Dad, I want to go. Yeah, I said. We're done here. I moved past Jessica, but she grabbed my arm. This is because of Saturday. I looked down at her hand until she let go. Dad told my 7-year-old son he wasn't real family. That isn't a mistake. He didn't mean it like that. Then how did he mean it? Jessica. Explain the nice way to tell a kid he doesn't belong. She looked at Noah, then back at me. Can we not do this in front of him? You all did it in front of him Saturday at a restaurant. Her face flushed. That's not fair. What's not fair is Mia losing her solo, I asked. What's not fair is my son sitting at a separate table. Then I walked away, Noah's hand tight in mine. In the car, he was quiet. I asked, You okay? Aunt Jessica looks sad. Yeah. Is it our fault? No, buddy, it's not our fault. Sometimes when you stop doing something people expect, they get upset. That's their problem, not ours. He nodded. He didn't quite believe me, but he wanted to. At home, I made lunch, grilled cheese sandwiches. While he ate, I opened my laptop and pulled up the Elite Soccer Academy registration page. It was the camp he had mentioned 3 times, the one he had stopped asking about after I said maybe. $450, 2 weeks, advanced training. I entered his name, date of birth, and emergency contact. Noah looked over. Dad, what are you doing? You're going to soccer camp. His face lit up. The good one. The good one. He hugged me so hard my coffee spilled. Thank you, Dad. You're welcome. I hit submit. The confirmation email arrived immediately. Noah read over my shoulder. Elite Soccer Academy Summer Intensive. That's the real one. Then he grinned. I'll be better than everyone by the end. He went back to his sandwich, but he kept looking at the confirmation email like it might disappear. That night, I couldn't sleep. Noah was in his room with the door closed. I could hear him breathing through the wall, that soft kid breathing that reminded me he was still small. Still learning what family meant. I had just cut off my parents. I had blocked my sister. I had erased them like they had tried to erase him. But what if I was wrong? Not about the insult. That was real. That happened. But about the response. Maya said I was protecting us. Mike said I was setting boundaries. But late at night in the dark, I just felt cold. I opened my phone and stared at Dad's block number. 1 tap and I could unblock him. 1 call and maybe he would apologize. Maybe we could talk like adults. Maybe Noah could have grandparents again. My finger hovered over the button. Then I remembered Dad's face. The way he had smiled when he said, real grandkids. Like Noah was a placeholder. Like he was a practice kid. I put the phone down. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. But the doubt didn't leave. It just sat there like a stone in my chest. Friday morning, I logged into my banking app and found Jessica's activity payments. $400 scheduled to draft in 12 days. I clicked cancel. Confirmed. Then I found the country club dues. $180 scheduled to draft in 3 days. I clicked cancel. Confirmed. 3 confirmation emails arrived. I opened a new tab and called Riverside Camping Grounds. How can I help you? The woman asked. Hi, I said. I want to book a campsite this coming weekend. 2 people, 1 tent. We have availability Friday through Sunday. Perfect. I booked it and paid the deposit. Noah came out during a commercial and asked, Are we really going camping? We really are. Just us. Just us. He grinned. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. This conversation isn't finished. I replied, "Yeah, it is." Then I blocked his number. I blocked Jessica's too. Saturday morning, Noah and I left for camping. Just us. No phones, no family drama, just a tent, a cooler, and a 7-year-old who had never started a campfire before. He asked, "Can I hold the matches?" "Not yet. First, you learn how to stack the wood." Noah crouched down and arranged the sticks like I showed him, his tongue sticking out in concentration. Like this. Perfect. I handed him the matches and supervised while he struck one. I watched his face light up when the kindling caught. "I did it." "You did." We roasted hot dogs that were burned on the outside and cold in the middle. We ate them anyway. We made s'mores with chocolate that melted down our hands. Noah laughed so hard he snorted. "Dad, you have marshmallow in your beard. You have chocolate on your nose." He wiped it and smeared it worse. That night, we lay in the tent with the stars visible through the mesh roof. "Dad." "Yeah, buddy. This is my favorite day ever." My chest tightened. "Mine too." "Can we do this every month?" "Every month. Just us. Just us." He fell asleep 10 minutes later. I stayed awake, listening to him breathe. Out there was no separate table, no real family, no rankings. Just a dad and his kid learning how to be whole without anyone else's approval. And that was enough. Sunday evening, we drove home with Noah asleep in the back and camping gear stuffed in the trunk. I opened a new savings account on my phone, college fund for Noah. I deposited $800, 2 months of payments I was no longer making for people who did not value him. Then I set up an automatic transfer, $800 per month. By the time he turned 18, he would have real options, real choices. My phone buzzed, a text from Mike. "Janet wants to know what kind of pie you want for Thanksgiving." I smiled and texted back, "Noah likes apple." 3 dots appeared. Then Mike replied, "Apple it is. Your family here always." I showed Noah the text when we got home. He was half awake and covered in dirt. "Aunt Janet is making you pie for Thanksgiving." "Really, really?" "Because that's what family does," I said. "They remember what you like. They show up. They make you feel like you belong." He blinked sleepily. "Do I belong at Uncle Mike's?" "Yeah, buddy, you do." He hugged me. "I'm glad we're going there." "Me too." That night, after Noah was asleep, I sat on the couch with Hendrix on my lap. 2 days earlier, I had sat in a restaurant and watched my father separate my son from the family. Now, Noah and I had sat around a campfire burning marshmallows and laughing. I didn't know if I had made the right choice. I didn't know if the boundaries were too harsh. I didn't know if I would regret it in 5 years. But I knew one thing. Noah's favorite day ever didn't include them, and mine didn't either. That was a start. Tuesday evening of the first week after everything changed, Noah sat at the kitchen table with his homework spread out while I made dinner. "Dad, can you sign this?" he asked, handing me a folder. A school permission slip was stapled to the front. I flipped it open to find the signature line, and that was when I saw it. A family tree project. Construction paper, crayon drawings. At the center were 2 stick figures, one tall and one small. Dad and Noah. That was it. No branches extending up, no grandparents, no aunts, uncles, or cousins. Just us. I remembered last year's project. He had drawn the whole family. Mom, Dad, Jessica, Mia, Tyler, everyone. This year, he had erased them. Not with words, not with a tantrum. Just with the silent choice of a 7-year-old who had learned that family trees do not include people who make you sit alone. "Noah," I said. He looked up. "Your family tree has no grandparents." He went back to his math homework. "Teacher said to draw people who make you feel safe." "And they don't?" He shrugged. "Grandpa said I'm not real, so I didn't draw him. Simple. Logical. Devastating." I signed the permission slip, closed the folder, and realized I had taught him this. Not through a lecture, but through action. When you are not valued, you walk away. He was 7, and he had learned the lesson perfectly. I was not sure if that made me proud or terrified. Wednesday evening, Mike called. Alex, hey. Janet wants you and Noah to come for dinner tomorrow. She's making lasagna. You don't have to do that. We want to. Also, I've got something I want to show you. Found some old photo albums while cleaning out the attic. What kind of photos? Family stuff from when you were a kid. Just come over. Bring Noah. Thursday at 5:30. Noah and I pulled up to Mike and Janet's house. It was one of those warm, cluttered houses where everything felt lived in. Photos on every wall. Kids' artwork from 20 years ago still on the fridge. Janet hugged us both at the door. Noah, I made garlic bread. Extra butter. Noah grinned. After dinner, while Noah played with Mike's old Legos in the living room, Mike pulled out a leather photo album with a cracked spine and yellowing pages. Found this in a box marked 2017 to 2019, he said. Your adoption years. He opened it. The first page showed me at 3 years old on my first day home holding Mom's hand. She was crying, happy crying. The next page showed Dad holding me, both of us grinning. The caption was in Mom's handwriting. Robert and Alex, day 3, already inseparable. Mike flipped the pages. More photos. Dad teaching me to ride a bike. Dad at my kindergarten graduation. Dad helping me build a birdhouse, all before I was 6. Then the photos stopped. Page after page empty. Years of blank space. I flipped ahead. One photo appeared 5 years later. Me at middle school graduation. Dad in the back row wearing a polo shirt. Tired eyes. No smile. Mike asked, Notice something. I looked at the gap. 5 years of nothing. What happened? Mike pointed to the last photo before the gap. Dad in a suit, me on his lap, both of us grinning. The caption read, Robert's promotion party, VP of sales. Mike said he was on top of the world that year. Then the company restructured, forced early retirement at 49. He tapped the empty pages. He stopped taking photos after that. I stared at the blank pages. 5 years where Dad had disappeared. Not from my life exactly, from his own. Mike said quietly, He chose you once, fought for you. That was real. I photographed 3 pages on my phone and closed the album. Can I take a picture of this? Take the whole album, Mike said. It's yours. Noah came over. What's that? Old pictures from when I was little. Can I see? I showed him the photo of Dad holding me. Noah studied it. That's Grandpa. Yeah. He looks happy. He was, once. Noah kept staring. What happened to him? I don't know, buddy. People change sometimes. They forget who they used to be. Mike walked us to the car later and said, For what it's worth, I think he knows he screwed up. He called me yesterday and asked if I'd seen you. What did you tell him? That you were taking care of your son. That's all he needed to know. I nodded and drove home with the album on the passenger seat. At home, I put it on my bookshelf. Not hidden, not displayed. Just there. Evidence that Dad had been different once. Evidence that he had chosen me. That he had fought for me. Before he forgot how. Friday at 3:15 in the afternoon during week 2, I arrived early to pick Noah up from school. I parked at the curb and turned the engine off. Kids poured out of the building like a human avalanche. Noah came out with his backpack and his head down. Behind him was Mia, Jessica's daughter. She walked faster and caught up to him. She said something. Noah shook his head and kept walking. Mia grabbed his backpack. He stopped. Other kids slowed down to watch. Mia said something loud enough for me to hear the tone. Mean. Pointed. Noah's shoulders curved inward, making himself smaller. I got out of the car. Noah. He looked up, saw me, and relief flooded his face. Mia let go of his backpack and smiled at me like nothing had happened. Hi, Mr. Morrison. I didn't smile back. Go wait in the car, Noah. He went fast. I looked at Mia. She was 8 years old, Jessica's daughter, already learning how to cut someone down in a school parking lot. What did you say to him? She shifted. Nothing. Try again. She looked at the ground. Just that he's not real family. That's why he didn't sit with us. I crouched down to her eye level. You're 8, so I'm going to explain this once. Family isn't about blood. It's about showing up. And right now, the people in your family are teaching you how to hurt people. Don't let them. I stood up and walked back to the car. Noah was buckled in, staring at his hands. I got behind the wheel. What did Mia say, buddy? His voice was thin. That Grandpa told her mom I'm not real. That you adopted me, so I'm not really a Morrison. I gripped the steering wheel. Do you believe her? He looked up at me, eyes wet. Are you going to leave me too? My heart broke. No, Noah, never. You're the realest thing in my life. He nodded. He didn't quite believe me yet, but he wanted to. We drove home in silence. That night, I didn't sleep, because I realized Dad had not just insulted Noah at a restaurant. He had given Jessica permission to spread it, and Jessica had given Mia permission to weaponize it. This was not one moment. It was a pattern, and I had just cut it off at the root. Monday of week 3, my desk phone rang at work. It was reception. Alex, there's a woman here to see you, Linda Morrison. She says she's your mother. She doesn't have an appointment, but she's been waiting for an hour. I looked at my computer screen. I had a deadline in 4 hours. Tell her I'll be down in 5 minutes. Mom sat in the lobby, small and tired, holding her purse like a shield. She stood when she saw me. Alex? Mom? Can we talk? I looked at the security desk, then back at my mother, who had been sitting there for an hour. There's a coffee shop across the street. 10 minutes. We walked in silence, ordered coffee, and sat at a corner table. Mom wrapped her hands around her cup. Your father has been difficult this week. He doesn't understand why you're doing this. Did he tell you what he said to Noah? She looked down. He said there was a misunderstanding about seating. That's what he told you? Alex, your father is struggling. The retirement hasn't been easy. Money is tight. I know about Uncle Mike's $3,000. She went pale. How Mike called me, told me about the loan from July. He was embarrassed to ask you for help. Mom, if he needed help, he should have asked, not hidden it. Not asked me to pay for his country club while he owed his brother money. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, I didn't know about most of the payments. I leaned back. You sat there Saturday night and let Dad separate Noah. You let him sit alone. You didn't say a word. Her eyes filled. I didn't want to make a scene. You made a scene by your silence. She wiped her eyes. What do I need to do to fix this? Tell Dad the truth, that what he said was wrong, that Noah is family, that adoption doesn't make someone less. She stood. I understand. I said, Mom. She turned back. If things change, if Dad does the work, maybe we can talk. But not now. How will I know when? You'll know when Noah feels safe enough to draw you again. She nodded and left. I drove back to work, then sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes before I could go inside. Mom's face kept replaying in my mind. The way her hands shook around the coffee cup. The way she had said she did not want to make a scene. I thought about what I had told her. You made a scene by your silence. Was I right? I thought about Noah's family tree, the one with just me, no grandparents. I told myself that was their fault. They excluded him, so he excluded them back. But I was the adult. I was the one who had blocked their numbers, canceled their access, and removed them completely. Noah was 7. He was following my lead. Maybe I had moved too fast. Not about the restaurant, that was unforgivable, but about everything after, the scorched earth, the silence, the refusal to even hear them out. I texted Maya, do you think I'm being too harsh? 3 dots appeared. Then she replied, do you think you are? I stared at the message and didn't have an answer. Later that same week, Mike texted, can you call me? It's about Robert. I called immediately. Is he okay? Physically, yeah. Mentally, he's falling apart. Good. Alex, what do you want me to say, Mike? That I feel bad? I don't. There was silence. Then Mike said, I'm going to send you something. You don't have to respond. Just read it. He hung up. 30 seconds later, a screenshot arrived. A text thread between Dad and Mike. Dad had written, I think I had a breakdown at the store today. Then, saw a father with his son. Kid was maybe 7. They were laughing. Then, I can't remember the last time Alex laughed with me. Mike had replied, "Have you tried calling him?" Dad answered, "He blocked me." I deserve that. Mike wrote, "So unblock yourself. Show up." Dad replied, "I don't know how." I stared at the screen. Dad did not know how to show up. After 29 years of me showing up for him, he did not know how to return the favor. That should have made me angry. Instead, it just made me tired. I texted Mike back. "Thanks for sending this, but it doesn't change anything." Mike replied, "Didn't think it would. Just thought you should know he's trying to figure it out." I wrote, "Let me know when he does." Then I put the phone down. Trying was not the same as doing, but at least he had admitted he did not know how. That was something. Not enough, but something. Thanksgiving came at Mike and Janet's house, and it was chaos. The good kind. Janet's 3 sisters argued about pie crust. Mike's grown kids played cards with their own kids. Someone's toddler screamed because another toddler stole a dinner roll. And Noah sat at the kids' table laughing. Really laughing. Not polite laughing. Not careful laughing. The kind that came from your stomach. Mike's grandson Tyler, who was Noah's age, told some story about a frog he had found, and Noah doubled over. Janet appeared beside me with wine. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, "just watching." She looked toward Noah. "He fits right in." "He does." She squeezed my shoulder. "So do you, in case you were wondering." Dinner was loud and messy. No assigned seats, no toasts ranking anyone. Mike asked Noah about soccer. Tyler asked if Noah wanted to sleep over sometime. Janet's sister asked if I wanted her famous sweet potato recipe. "Fair warning," she said, "it has marshmallows, and I will judge you if you don't take seconds." I took seconds. After dinner, Noah and Tyler were outside throwing a football. I watched from the porch, and Mike joined me. "This okay?" he asked. "Us being your Thanksgiving?" I nodded. "More than okay." Mike leaned on the railing. "Robert called me yesterday, asked if you'd be here. What did you tell him? That you were with family?" I looked at Noah, tackled by Tyler, both of them shrieking with laughter. "Yeah," I said, "I am." Mike smiled. "Good." Later in the car, Noah buckled himself in. "Sleepy?" I asked. "Full. Happy," he said. Then Dad. "Yeah. Can this be our Thanksgiving from now on?" "Absolutely." "Good, because Tyler said next year we're doing tackle football, and I need to practice." I laughed. "Deal." He fell asleep before we hit the highway, and for the first time in months, I was not thinking about what I had lost. I was thinking about what I had found. That evening, I opened the college fund and deposited another $800. The balance grew to $2,400. Real money. Real options. By the time Noah turned 18, he would have choices. Real choices. I looked at the photo album on my shelf, at Dad smiling with a 3-year-old me on his lap. He had chosen me once, but now I was choosing Noah. Every day, every decision. That was the difference. Month 2 came and life settled into a rhythm that did not include them. Work, Noah's soccer, Mike and Janet's Sunday dinners where Noah actually sat with everyone. I kept depositing money into the college fund and watched the balance grow. But the doubt did not leave. It sat there, quiet, waiting. December came. In the 3rd week, Mike called at 11:47 at night. "Alex, I'm at the hospital. It's Robert." My stomach dropped. What happened? "Heart attack. Not major, but not nothing. Janet and I are here with your mom. She's asking for you." I looked toward Noah's closed bedroom door. He was asleep. I can't bring Noah to a hospital at midnight. "I know. I'm just telling you. He's stable. Awake. I'll think about it." I hung up and sat in the dark, feeling nothing and everything at the same time. I did not go that night. I did not go the next morning. But I sent a card to the hospital. Plain white, bought at Walgreens. 3 words inside. Get well, think. Mom called when she got it. I let it go to voicemail. Her message said, "Alex, thank you for the card. Your father cried when he read it. He wants to see you when you're ready. No pressure, just thank you." Dad came home 2 weeks later. Mike kept me updated. Medication, diet changes, orders to reduce stress. The doctor asked what had triggered it. Mike said Robert told him family estrangement. The doctor said that would do it. January came. Noah's soccer team made the playoffs. We practiced in the park every Saturday. Mike and Tyler came sometimes. Noah was getting good, really good. I watched him run drills, focused, determined, happy. He did not ask about Grandpa anymore. He did not ask about Thanksgiving or Christmas or why we were not invited. He had stopped expecting them to show up. And that hurt more than the restaurant ever had, because 7-year-olds should not have to learn that lesson. February came and Noah turned 8. We threw a small party at our apartment with his soccer team, his school friends, Mike and Janet. I did not invite my parents. I did not expect them to show. But a package arrived that morning, addressed to Noah. I opened it. Inside was a jersey, number 12, professional quality. There was also a photo printed, not digital. Dad at Noah's school gym, standing at an equipment drive table, writing a check while other parents stood around. On the back in his handwriting he had written, "Donated $200 for kids who can't afford cleats. Didn't tell them I was your father, just wanted to help." Then there was the card. Noah, happy 8th birthday. I remember you telling me once that number 12 was special because that's how old you'd be when you played pro soccer. You were 5 when you said it. I was listening. I'm sorry I stopped listening. Grandpa. I stared at the photo. Dad at Noah's school. Not announcing himself. Not making it about him. Just showing up quietly. The way I had been showing up for years. Invisible. Uncredited. Maybe he had learned that from me the hard way. Noah came over. What's that? I handed him the jersey. From Grandpa. He put it on immediately. Then he read the card and looked at the photo. He was at my school. Yeah, why didn't he say hi? I don't know, buddy. Noah stared at the photo. Do you think he's sorry? I looked at the check in the picture, the handwriting on the back, the jersey that was exactly Noah's size and exactly his number. I think he's trying. Is trying enough? I don't know yet, I said, but maybe we find out together. He nodded and hugged me, still wearing the jersey. That evening, after everyone left, I sat on the couch and stared at my phone. Dad's number was still blocked. I had kept it that way for 3 months. Safe, protected, controlled. But control was not the same as healing, and walls were not the same as boundaries. I unblocked the number. I did not call. I did not text. I just unblocked it. I left the door open just a crack. 3 days later, my phone rang. Dad's number. I let it ring once. Twice. 3 times. Noah was in his room wearing the jersey Dad had sent. He had worn it every day since his birthday and had slept in it twice. I could ignore the call. I could reblock the number and keep the walls up. Or I could answer. Not because Dad deserved it, because I deserved to choose. I picked up. Hello? Silence. Breathing. Then Dad's voice. Alex. I said nothing. I wasn't sure you'd answer. I wasn't sure either. More silence. I've been doing a lot of thinking since the hospital. Since before. Mike told me about the donation. I didn't do it for credit, Dad said. I did it because it was right. His voice was rough. Because I was wrong. I looked toward Noah's door. Closed. Safe. You told a 7-year-old he wasn't real family, Dad. That isn't wrong. That's cruel. I know. A long pause. My counselor asked me what I was afraid of. I didn't have an answer. Took me 8 sessions to figure it out. What did you figure out? That I'm angry. I have been for years. At myself mostly. For not being enough. Not smart enough to keep my job. Not rich enough to not need help. Not important enough that people call me for reasons other than money. His voice cracked. And I took it out on a 7-year-old because he was easier than admitting I failed. I sat with that and let it settle. Then I asked, "What do you want from me, Dad?" Silence. I want a chance to prove I've changed. To meet Noah again. To be the grandfather I should have been. That isn't up to me, I said. It's up to him. And he's 7. He doesn't owe you anything. I know. And if you screw this up, if you say one thing that makes him feel less than, we're done. Permanently. No second chances. I understand. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because Noah asked me last week if grandparents could change. Dad's voice cracked again. What did you tell him? I told him, I don't know, but maybe we'd find out. Another pause. Then Dad whispered, "Thank you, Alex. That's more than I deserve." Yeah, I said. It is. I hung up and looked at the phone in my hand. Maya appeared in the doorway. She had been listening. You sure about this? She asked. No, I said, but I'm choosing it anyway. She smiled. That's growth, babe. I pulled her close. Terrifying growth. The best kind. The next week, Noah and I went to the park, the same park from months earlier. I brought his new bike, the one I had bought with money that used to go toward country club dues. No training wheels this time. He had asked me to take them off. You sure? I asked. I'm sure. Tyler doesn't have them. Tyler isn't the measure. I know, but I want to try. I held the back of his seat and started running beside him. Pedal. Keep pedaling. He wobbled, steadied, then wobbled again. You got this, buddy. I'm right here. He pedaled faster, found his balance, and started pulling away. I let go. He did not notice at first. He just kept pedaling. 50 feet, 100 feet. Then he looked back and saw me standing still. He realized he was doing it alone. He did not fall. He kept going, turned around, and came back grinning. I did it. You did it. Did you see? I saw. He rode circles around me, laughing free real. Then he asked Dad, yeah, do you think Grandpa really changed? I watched him ride, confident and strong. 8 years old now and already learning that people were complicated. I think he's trying, and that's a start. Are we going to see him? Maybe, when you're ready, if you want to. What if I'm scared? Then I'll be right there, like when you learn to ride your bike. I'll hold on until you're ready for me to let go. He nodded and rode another lap. Okay, maybe. Maybe is a good place to start. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Can we see you sometime? When you're ready. No pressure. I typed back, not yet, but maybe. She responded immediately. Thank you, that's enough. I put the phone away and watched Noah ride. I watched him fall once, get back up, and ride again. 7 months earlier, we had sat at a separate table. 7 months earlier, someone had told him he was not real. Now, he was here, riding a bike bought with reclaimed money, part of a family that chose him every day. The old family might come back someday, if they did the work, if Noah decided they had earned it. But we did not need them to be whole. We already were. Noah rode past me again. Watch this. He took his hands off the handlebars for just a second, wobbled, grabbed them again, and looked back at me with pure joy on his face. Did you see? I saw, buddy. I saw. He kept riding. I kept watching. And for the first time in months, I did not think about what I had lost. I thought only about what I had built. Just the two of us. Real family. Not perfect. Not certain. Not without scars. But real. And that was enough.